Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into a really powerful idea, one that offers a kind of spiritual map for those times in life when you just feel, well, stuck. We're going to explore what it means to find God in the in between. You know that feeling, right? Like you're in some kind of cosmic waiting room. You feel alone, maybe a little unheard, and you have absolutely no idea what's supposed to happen next. It's such a common human experience, and it turns out there's a name for it. And we're going to spend the next few minutes digging into it, how to get through it. So, the ideas we're talking about today come from a sermon by Aria Walker called God in the In-Between. What we're doing here is breaking down her framework for finding faith, especially when things feel uncertain or even overwhelming. Okay, so what exactly is this in-between? Well, think of it as that spiritual limbo. The space between when you ask for something in prayer and when you get an answer. Or the gap between having a huge problem and finding the solution. It's that place where the silence can feel just really loud. And it's where your faith really gets put to the test. So here's our game plan. We'll start by just talking about that in-between feeling itself. Then we'll dive into 5 big challenges. What to do when God feels quiet, when you feel totally unseen, and when life just makes zero sense. We'll also hit on trying to find our way in this super noisy world, and then we'll wrap up with a really powerful idea about finding strength right in the middle of our brokenness. All right, let's dive into our first section. Before we get to any solutions, we really need to get a handle on the emotional landscape of this in-between place. What does it actually feel like to be there? This quote right here, it's really the heart of the whole message. The main point is that the feeling that God is gone isn't proof that he's actually gone. And that's a huge distinction to make right up front. The silence you might be experiencing isn't an empty space. It's just a different kind of presence. So that leads us right into the first major challenge that the sermon tackles, and it's a big one for a lot of people. What do you do when you're praying, you're asking for help or comfort, and all you get back is nothing? Just silence. And look, this message doesn't try to sugarcoat it. It completely validates that feeling of your words just going out into a void. No big emotional rush, no clear sign, just quiet. It says, yeah, that experience is real and it can be really, really tough. And then comes this powerful pivot. The idea here is to reframe faith completely. It's not a state of knowing all the answers. It's the active process of learning to trust. It suggests that real faith isn't about certainty. It's about learning to trust the teacher, even when the lesson is silence. Okay, next up is a feeling that's so closely tied to that silence, the feeling of being completely invisible. This part is for anyone who's ever felt overlooked, whether it's by the people around you or maybe even by God. So check out this comparison from the sermon. On the left side, you've got how people often see us. It's based on big crowds, on our actions, on what we do. But then look at the right. Being seen by God is described as something way deeper. It's not about the crowd, it's about your individual heart. It's not about what you do, but who you are. So the whole point here is to shift your focus. The sermon really encourages you to stop looking for validation from the crowd, and instead to find your value in the belief that you are seen as an individual, right down to your very heart. All right, the next challenge we're going to dig into is that feeling of just utter confusion. What are you supposed to do when life completely stops making sense? When the path you thought you were on just kind of disappears and you can't see what's next? How do you trust a process you don't even understand? This quote really nails a huge idea from the sermon. Faith isn't just a passive thing you have. Sometimes it's an active statement. It's saying out loud, you know what? I have no clue what's going on, but I am choosing to trust anyway. It's about being able to hold both your confusion and your trust at the very same time. So the idea underneath all this is that a setback or a confusing chapter isn't the end of your story. The sermon basically argues that even these tough moments are pieces of a much bigger, more purposeful picture, and that disappointment doesn't get to have the final word. Okay, now we're going to tackle a challenge that feels like it was made for the 21st century. How in the world do you find any clarity when you are surrounded 24/7 by a constant storm of noise and distraction? The sermon points to a few key sources of all this noise. You've got the external stuff, right? Like the endless scroll on social media, plus all the expectations and opinions everyone else has. But then there's the internal noise too. Our own worries, our anxieties, our fears. And here is the sermon's beautifully simple and kind of mind-bending solution. In a world that's always screaming at us to be louder, to speak up, to get noticed, this message suggests that the most powerful, the loudest thing we can do is the exact opposite. Get quiet and just listen. Well, we've arrived at the final theme of the sermon, and honestly, it might be the most life-changing one of all. It's about how to completely flip the script on our moments of failure and weakness. And we all know this feeling, don't we? That sinking feeling that you've messed up so bad you can't fix it. Or that you're just not strong enough to handle what's in front of you. Or that nagging thought that everyone else is lapping you in the race of life. And this is probably the single most powerful line in the whole sermon. You are not failing, you're forming. Just let that sink in. It's a complete reframe. Those moments that feel like you're falling apart, this perspective says they're actually a crucial part of you being built up. And this is why. According to the sermon, the times you feel weakest aren't some disqualifier that pushes God away. No, it's the exact opposite. Those moments are seen as the very thing that forges a deeper, more real connection. It's an invitation, not a rejection. So what does this all boil down to? It really comes down to a simple but profound two-step framework for those in-between times. Step 1, acknowledge. Just admit it. I'm feeling doubtful, I'm confused, and don't beat yourself up about it. Step 2, reframe. Actively shift your thinking from I'm failing to I'm being formed. So we'll leave you with this to think about. If you really, truly embrace this idea of faith being a process of learning, not knowing, how might that change the way you look at your own personal struggles? It's a pretty big shift in perspective. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.